solving quadratic equations by extracting the square roots. Now, our quadratic equations can be solved in 4 ways. So we have extracting the square roots, by factoring, by completing the square, and by using the quadratic formula. So there are 4, but today we will have 1, and that is again by extracting the square root. So before we start, let's have a short activity. Alright, so I have here some expressions and let's solve them first. So number 1, we have 2 squared, or 2 to the power of 2. So it will become 2 positive 2 times positive 2, and we will get positive 4. Negative 2 squared, that is equal to negative 2 times negative 2, and we will still get positive 4. So 3 squared would be 9. Negative 3 squared would be 9 still. 4 squared would be equal to 16. And negative 4 squared is still equal to 16. We have 5 squared, that is equal to 25. Correct. Negative 5 squared still is equal to 25. Sorry, this is 25. Okay, so what have you noticed with our answers? You have here 4, 9, 16, and 25. What have you noticed with their signs? Okay, correct. So all of them, all perfect squares are always positive. So we call these numbers our perfect squares. And when you say perfect squares, they are always positive. So there is no perfect square that is negative. It is always positive. So whether it's negative 2 squared, it's negative 3 squared, negative 4 squared, negative 5 squared, your answers will always be positive. So you have positive 4, positive 9, 16, and 25. So again, perfect squares are always. Now, let us try to reverse the process. And that is through extracting the square root. Alright, so let's have number 1, the square root of 4. Or what number, when squared, would result to 4? The answer is positive 2 and negative 2, because positive 2 squared is 4 and negative 2 squared is also 4. So the square root of 4 is positive and negative 2. How about the square root of 9? Answer would be positive negative 3. Correct. How about this? The square root of 25. Our answer is positive and negative 5. Correct. How about the square root of 100? What's our answer? What number, when you square, would result to 100? The answer is positive and negative 10. Okay? So I hope you will remember this as we go through our lesson, which is solving quadratic equation by extracting the square root or the square roots. Alright, so I have a question. Given the equation b squared minus 9 equals 0, is this quadratic? Yes, it is. Why? Because we have our degree 2. Again, any equation raised to the power of 2 or has the highest degree of 2 is a quadratic equation. So equations like this, wherein you're only given the quadratic term and the constant, can be solved by the method extracting the square root. So the first thing that you need to do is to transform this into the format x squared equals k. So your quadratic term on the other side and the constant on the other side. So let us try. So quadratic term is b squared equals, so your constant must be written on the right. Now this is negative 9, so once transferred to the right, it will become positive 9. So in this case, from this, we now have b squared equals 9, so we follow the format x squared equals k. Okay? Now in this lesson, we have 3 cases. So the first case is when your k is a positive number. So in this case, b squared equals 9. So example, b squared equals 9. Okay? So if ever your k is positive, then we will have 2 solutions or 2 roots or 2 answers. Now let us see why. So we extract, next step is to extract the square root. So the square root of b squared and the square root of 9. Now what is the square root of b squared? That is b. Now what is the square root of 9, or what number when raised to the power of 2 would result to 9? We have positive 3 and negative 3. Therefore, our answers are b equals positive 3 and b equals negative 3. So indeed, we have 2 solutions. The positive 3 and our negative 3. Let's proceed to the second case. And the second case is when your k is equal to 0. So let's have an example. You are given s squared minus 3 equals negative 3. So in this case, we combine like terms, so constant and constant. So quadratic term on this side equals our constant on the right side. So we copy negative 3 and this constant negative 3, we transfer it to the right side, making it positive 3. So we now have s squared equals negative 3 plus 3. So s squared equals negative 3 plus 3 equals 0. Now the next step would be to extract the square root of both sides. So the square root of s squared equals the square root of 0. So the square root of s squared is s, and the square root of your 0 is just 0. 0 is literal, therefore it can never be positive, it can never be negative, just 0. So if your k is equal to 0, how many solutions do you have? You only have 1 solution or 1 root. So in our example, we have s equals 0. So that is just only 1 answer, s equals 0. Okay, let's proceed to the third case. And the third case is when your k is equal to negative or any number less than 0. So example, you are given n squared plus 9 equals 0. So in this case, we proceed to this format. So quadratic term n squared equals your positive 9, transfer it to the right, making it negative 9. Extract the square roots of both sides. So the square root of m squared equals the square root of negative 9. So the square root of m squared is m, and the square root of negative 9 is, or what number when you square would result to negative 9? The answer is nothing. So we just copy negative 9. Why? Earlier we said that perfect squares are always positive. And 9 is a perfect square, but it is negative. Therefore, we have no real solution. So we just copy square root of negative 9. So if your k is negative, then you have no real roots or real solutions. It's imaginary. Okay, so later on as we go through our lesson, if you stay with me, then you will know what is imaginary. Okay, so again, these are the cases when you do the method extracting the square root. So case number 1, if your k is positive, then you will have 2 solutions. If your k is equal to 0, then you will only have 1. And if your k is negative, then there is no real roots or you have no real solutions. So I hope things are clear. Right, so let's have bonus examples. Okay, so say for example, you are given this equation. X squared minus 3 equals 0. So, we go through the same process, transform this into this format, x squared equals k. So, x squared, your 3 to the right side, negative 3 to the right side, making it positive 3. So, extract the square root of both sides. So, square root of x squared and the square root of 3. So, the square root of your x squared is x. And then the square root of 3 is what? Okay, so in this case, we are not calculators. If we use the calculators, we will get decimal answers. But since we're not calculators, then let's just leave it as it is. So you just copy square root of 3 and then you attach positive and negative signs. So since your k is positive, therefore, how many solutions? You will have 2 solutions. So for this case, our answers would be x equals positive square root of 3 and the other one is x equals negative square root of 3. So I hope it's clear. Again, if it's not a perfect square, just leave it as it is and then just attach the symbols positive and negative. Okay, so let's have bonus example number 2. So given the equation quantity x minus 4 squared minus 25 equals 0. So it may look complicated, but it's just the same. Don't panic, okay? So the entire quantity x minus 4 squared will be your quadratic term and negative 25 will be your constant. So still this equation can be transformed to this. So copy quantity x minus 4 squared, your quadratic term, equals your constant, which is negative 25. You transfer it to the right, making it positive 25. So there you have it. So next step would be to extract the square roots of both sides. So the square root of quantity x minus 4 squared equals the square root of 25. So what is the square root of quantity x minus 4 squared? The answer is x minus 4. So it's just like this. The square root of your s squared is s. Therefore, the square root of quantity x minus 4 squared is just x minus 4. You just cancel 2. That one. Okay? And the square root of 25, you have, what are your answers? There are 2. You have positive 5 and negative 5. So in this case, if ever you have this kind of format, you're going to split your equation. So you have x minus 4, this one, equals, you take the first root or square root of 25, which is positive 5. The other one, x minus 4, you copy from this, and then you take the second root of 25, which is negative 5. And then you solve. So in this case, this is your variable. Negative 4 is a constant and 5 is a constant. So you just combine your like terms. So you have negative 4 and 5. So you copy x equals constant to the right. So negative 4 to the right, making it positive 4. So you will now have 5 plus 4, which is equal to 9. So your x is equal to 9. The other one, so the same thing, combine like terms, you copy your x, and then negative 4 to the right, making it positive 4. So you now have negative 5 plus 4. And what is negative 5 plus 4? The answer is negative 1. So x is equal to negative 1. So you have 2 answers. Why? It's because your k is positive. And whenever your k is positive, you will have 2 solutions. So in this case, you have x equals 9 and x equals negative 1. Okay, so I hope you learned something and I hope you can solve equations like this. And see you again next time. So bye-bye.